I chose career over love, and it was the best decision I ever made. It all started when I first met Anna. At the time, I was in my mid 20s trying to figure out my future, but more focused on building my career than on anything else. I had always been the type of guy who put work above all. Career was my lifeblood, and every decision I made was with that in mind. The thing is, when you're so caught up in your own ambitions, it's easy to overlook things that matter. And I overlooked Anna at first. She was different from anyone I had met. We met through some mutual friends at a bar, and it wasn't a grand story of love at first sight. In fact, I hadn't even noticed her until about half an hour into the night. But once I did, everything changed. She was confident, funny, and had this energy about her that made it impossible not to be drawn in. Her laugh was infectious, and the way she spoke about her passions, whether it was her work, her travels, or her dreams, made me see how much I lacked in those departments. She was everything I wasn't. We started talking more, and I found myself looking forward to our late night conversations. They weren't just small talk. We connected on a deeper level. The more we talked, the more I felt like I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. Someone who cared. And for the first time in years, I didn't mind. The first few months were perfect. We spent weekends together, went on trips, shared a love for good food and movies, and every day felt like an adventure. For a while, I thought it was all too good to be true. But Anna seemed to fit into my life effortlessly. She supported my career, encouraged me to go after what I wanted. She never made me feel guilty about working long hours, even when I knew I was neglecting other parts of my life. It was easy to think I had found someone who understood me, someone who accepted the version of me that was always on the go, always working toward the next big thing. But that's where I went wrong. Anna was supportive, yes, but she wasn't content with me only being half present. She wanted more. She wanted me to be there, yes, fully. And I didn't realize it at the time, but the cracks in our relationship were starting to form. I remember one night, a few months into our relationship, when I came home late after a particularly exhausting day at work. I'd been working on a massive project, and everything else seemed to fall by the wayside. Anna was sitting on the couch when I got home. Her eyes were puffy like she had been crying, but she tried to hide it. "Hey," I said, walking over to her. "Sorry I'm late. You know how crazy things are at work." She didn't say anything for a moment, then just nodded, looking down at her phone. "I don't get it," she said, her voice quiet. "You work all the time. You hardly ever have time for me. Or for us." I felt the familiar defensiveness bubble up inside me. "You knew what you were getting into when we started dating. I told you I'm focused on my career right now. I'm doing this for us." But she didn't seem to hear me. She just sat there, her hands resting in her lap, her face expressionless. I could see she was trying not to cry, but the silence between us was deafening. "I know," she said finally, her voice barely audible. "But what's the point of all this if I'm not part of it?" That was the first time I really thought about what she was saying, but it didn't hit me hard. I brushed it off. I was too focused on my work. I was too invested in making sure I made the right moves to get ahead. Anna would understand. She had to, right? But what I didn't realize was that she had already started to feel neglected, and every sacrifice I made for my career was pushing her further away. Over the next few months, I saw less and less of her. Our dates were less frequent. The calls, the late night conversations, the small moments we used to share, all became more and more sporadic. I'd find excuses not to go out. I'd cancel plans because something came up at work. My work was the priority. It had to be. After all, this was what I had always wanted. But then, one evening, something changed. I had been working late again, and I knew I had missed another dinner date with Anna. She had texted me asking if I was still coming, but I didn't respond. I was wrapped up in the work as usual. This time, when I finally did get home, I found a note on the kitchen table. It wasn't a long note, just a few lines, but it hit me like a punch to the stomach. It read, "I can't keep doing this. I need someone who is here, not just in the room, but in the moment. I need someone who is going to make time for me, and I can't keep waiting for that. I'm done. I'm sorry." I stared at the note for what felt like forever. I don't know what I expected. Maybe an apology, maybe a last attempt to make things work. But there was nothing. She was gone. She had left. I couldn't blame her. I had given her no other choice. It hit me then. I had let my career define me, and in doing so, I had lost the most important thing. The person I thought I would build a life with. I wanted to chase after her, to beg her to stay, to fix things. But I knew deep down it was too late. She had given up on me, she had given up on us, but I couldn't go back. I couldn't undo what had been done. I had prioritized everything else, my work, my goals, and in doing so, I had pushed away the one person who mattered most. The following days felt like walking through a fog. I was numb but also in complete turmoil. The reality of Anna leaving hit me harder than I had expected. I didn't know how to handle it. I had gotten so used to focusing on work and pushing everything else aside that I hadn't realized how much I needed her, how much I had depended on her. Now that she was gone, I felt lost. I couldn't help but replay the past few months in my head. I kept thinking about all the little moments I had missed, the dinners we never had, the plans we made but never followed through on, the late night conversations that turned into text messages, and the weekends that became just another workday. I had justified it all, telling myself I was doing it for the future, that one day she would understand. But now I saw things for what they truly were. I threw myself into my work even more. It was the only thing that felt familiar. But I couldn't escape the void that Anna had left. I would wake up every morning and go through the motions, pretending that everything was fine, that I was fine. But the truth was, I wasn't. I hadn't been happy in months, and I had no one to blame but myself. Then one evening, I got a call. It was from the company I had applied to months ago, the one I had been waiting for, the one that offered me the position I had been dreaming of, the one that meant everything. "Congratulations," the voice on the other end of the line said. "We're thrilled to offer you the role. We think you're exactly what we've been looking for. Are you ready to join us?" The words felt surreal. This was it. This was what I had worked for, what I had been sacrificing everything for. I was finally going to get everything I had ever wanted. The job, the recognition, the success. But as I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, I realized something. I wasn't sure I was ready for it anymore. Was this really what I wanted? To be alone in a new city, chasing a career, but without anyone to share it with? Was success worth it if you had no one to enjoy it with? I hesitated before I spoke. "I'll accept," I said, my voice steady but unsure. "I'm ready." But in the back of my mind, I kept wondering if I was making the right decision. Was I just running from the fact that I had messed up? Was I trying to bury the pain of losing Anna in my work? Could I really find happiness if I kept making the same mistakes? The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork, meetings, and last-minute preparations for my move. As I packed up my things, I thought back to my last conversation with Anna. It still stung, but I couldn't let it hold me back. I was moving forward and nothing was going to stop me. And then, just as I was about to leave, I received a text from her. "I miss you. I think about everything that happened and regret it. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time, the weight of it pressing on me. What was I supposed to say? What was there left to say? We had talked, and she had made her choice. She had left. I had made my choice too. I had chosen my career, my future, and now I was about to start a new chapter in a new city. But even then, as I read her message, I couldn't ignore the part of me that still wanted her back. I still wanted to believe that we could fix things, that I could undo the hurt. I didn't respond right away. I just let the phone sit in my hand as the hours passed. I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep living in the past, wondering what might have been. So I did what I thought was best for me. I blocked her number, and as the plane took off, I looked out the window, thinking about everything I had left behind. And for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid of the future. The first few weeks after the move felt like a whirlwind. I was thrown into my new job immediately, and the intensity of it all gave me little time to think about anything other than work. I woke up early, worked long hours, and often stayed late to meet deadlines. I buried myself in everything that had to do with my career, telling myself that this was what I needed to do, that this was the future I had worked so hard for. I couldn't afford to be distracted, but even in the midst of all the hustle, there were still quiet moments when I found myself missing the life I had left behind. Not just Anna, but the life I thought we would build together. I missed the dinners, the lazy Sundays, and the little things that had once made our time together feel special. It wasn't just about missing her. It was about the life I had imagined, the dreams we had shared. They felt so distant now, like a version of me that no longer existed. I started to feel a sense of isolation in this new city. The people at work were nice enough, but there was no one to share a meal with, no one to laugh with over a cup of coffee in the morning. At first, I didn't mind. I had told myself I was fine being alone, that I didn't need anyone. I had my career, and that was enough. But as the days turned into weeks, I realized just how much I had underestimated the need for human connection. I wasn't just missing Anna, I was missing everything that came with her: the companionship, the support, the shared moments that made life feel less lonely. I tried to distract myself by diving deeper into work. The project I had been put on was demanding, and the team I was working with was full of talented people. I found myself thriving in this new environment, my ideas being embraced, my contributions noticed. But as I moved up the ranks and earned more respect, I started to feel like something was still missing. I couldn't ignore the void anymore. The excitement of my career could only fill so much of it. Then one night, I was sitting at my desk late as usual when I received an unexpected message from Jessica. It was a simple hey at first, but I could tell she was hesitant. I had blocked her number, so she must have reached out through a different app or email. I felt a tightness in my chest, a mix of confusion and curiosity. I had spent so much time convincing myself that I had made the right decision, that I didn't need to hear from her. But here she was, reaching out after all this time. "Can we talk?" The message read. I stared at the screen for a long time, not knowing what to do. I had promised myself I wouldn't go back. I had left everything behind for a reason. I had to keep moving forward. But I was also aware that I hadn't truly closed the door on her. Part of me still wanted to hear what she had to say, even though I knew it wouldn't change anything. I let the message sit unanswered for a while, trying to figure out if it was worth it. And then I finally typed out a response. "What do you want to talk about?" Her reply came quickly. "I think I made a mistake. I've been thinking about everything, and I realize I wasn't fair to you. I don't know what to do anymore." I felt a wave of emotions wash over me. I wasn't expecting an apology, especially not one that came so suddenly after months of silence. But there it was, and part of me wanted to believe it. Part of me wanted to forgive her, to pretend like nothing had changed, to go back to the way things were. But I knew better. I asked her to call me, and we spoke for the first time in weeks. Her voice was different, softer, more vulnerable. It was as if the walls she had built around herself had finally come down. She admitted that she regretted pushing me away, that she had made assumptions about me and about our relationship. She apologized for not understanding how important my career was, for not being there when I needed her. For a moment, I felt the pull of the past, the version of me that was still in love with her, the one who believed that we could work things out, that we could go back to the way things were. But then I remembered everything I had gone through to get to this point. I remembered how I had sacrificed so much for this career, how I had worked relentlessly to get here. I couldn't throw it all away for a relationship that had already run its course. "You can't change the past, Jessica," I said, my voice steady. "And I can't keep living in the past either. I made my choice, and I'm not going back." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could hear her breathing, trying to find the right word, but there was nothing left to say. "I understand," she finally whispered. "I really do." We said our goodbyes shortly after, and just like that, the door I had kept cracked open was shut. I knew I had made the right decision, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like the end of something that had once held so much promise. The following days were a mix of relief and sadness. I had let go, but I still mourned what could have been. The future I had dreamed of with Jessica was no longer possible, but I had built something else, something I couldn't ignore. My career. The life I had always wanted. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And as I moved forward, I knew I would never forget the lessons I had learned, the sacrifices I had made. Maybe one day I would look back at all of this and understand that it wasn't just about career or relationships. It was about finding myself, finding what truly mattered, what made me whole. For now, though, I was going to keep moving forward. There was no turning back.